Hello, dear aspiring project managers. I made this video in response to multiple project management tests that have been attempted and failed. So we decided to restructure it and provide you with a very short guideline on the test topics. So what we will talk about in this video, we decided to wrap it up in a maximum half an hour show and tell video. So we'll talk about understanding the project. Very short intro in what we are doing at Scandiweb as project managers, and then we'll look into two very practical things. First will be front and back end mapping principle and approach, and second will be notes on how to estimate your project. Both of them are part of PM test. And estimating is how we can measure a technology in time units. Well, the value you will get is first we'll get a key piece, in my opinion, on how to approach any project. Discover its anatomy. We'll look into what does it mean. You will learn how to convert a project scope in time, and you will learn a guide to a perfect estimate, along with looking at the templates and examples. And I hope you will pass Scandiweb Junior PM test then. And we'll see each other soon. So how does a project start? Sometimes, and these are very real examples when customers are asking about selling cars or selling candies or building a copy of a successful business or sending their designs. And well, that's it. 5, 6, 7 words. And then there are hours or months of man hours and woman hours. These hours go into attempting or doing our best in bridging the gap between idea and multi-million. This is a small, medium-sized business ambition that our customers have. And of course, they expect this path to be, well, even shorter than this, but for sure it should be straight. That's what they expect, what they reasonably expect from us as their delivery partner. However, it might not be so straightforward. Well, it can actually eventually lead to the result, but we'll spend a lot of time, nerves, and money, customer, and hours sometimes to reach it. So, our set of project management practices is aimed specifically at making this a straight line. And we'll learn few of the, how to say, cornerstone principles on how to do it. And there are much more. We have to calibrate expectations. We are building proof of concepts, wireframing, prototyping to understand that we are exactly on the straight path. We are designing, optimizing conversion rates, doing focus groups, architecting solution, budgeting, sprints, and front-end, back-end mapping and estimating are among these things, and our focus here will be precisely on them. So let's look at them in turn. Let's start with front-end, back-end mapping. It's not a cover image. It's a part of a practical exercise. That's how our project starts. Customer is sending us usually a picture or a vision of something beautiful, something awesome. and they tell how much, when can you deliver it, or can you deliver it at all. There are no more comments, and we are like, you want a painting maybe, or this cat, or you want? And they tell, no, not a mascot, not a painting. I want a cat. Nice cat, please. Hmm. Customer doesn't send any feature list usually that this cat is expected to do something. Well, an image is enough because customer already has an image in their head of what he'll do, but it's not usually a part of what you will get as project managers. So we have to think. Well, fine, that's cat. And even so, we are not really seeing any eyes and mouth there, but we have to figure out that there are. So we kind of reverse engineer and like, okay, there is a mouse. Probably this is creature and it should eat, breathe, and see. And then we like look even deeper and think about digestion and oxygen and elements transportation and evacuation systems. And it's like ears, and it has some moving parts. It's complex. It's not one piece, so probably a skeleton is assumed to be there. It sleeps. So it has a sleep cycles. Yes. That's why anatomy matters. And a very brief definition of what is anatomy is a study of the structure or internal workings of something. It's a very good definition that most takes us away from humans, and there can be anatomy of a building, there can be anatomy of pretty much anything. And that's exactly where we look at. That's exactly what we research once customer has sent us something. Let's take another example. And it's again not a technology project, but I hope I will be able to illustrate the point here. It's another project, bathroom project. Looks nice. And yeah, customer is sending you the image and expects the project to be delivered, well, when you tell in 2 weeks. What are the options? How we can deliver it, especially if we neglect anatomy? Well, we can make it exactly on the image. And that's, how to say, a major PM mistake that overwhelming amount of people are doing. They're delivering something that looks exactly as on the picture and they're happy. Hey, we delivered. And then this water closet just stands on the floor like a vase. All these pipes are not connected anywhere. This thing is mounted on the wall, but it's not connected to any pipe. We did not think about anatomy. We did not think about internal workings of the system. We did not think instead of the customer about sewerage, hot, cold water, ventilation, warm floor system, maybe. Smart angle in the shower area so the water gets out of the room. As a project manager in Scandiweb, and for the purposes of the test task, you are expected to do just that, to dig deeper. Well, at least the slide bulb on the image is working, so project manager would get clear understanding. Oh, I should connect electricity there, but there is no water flowing, and that's exactly the conversation with the customer after not successful delivery. So, should I make a picture with me showering in this shower area so you would understand that there is a water, and make a smile on my face so you understand that the water is warm, and about the water closet. So think about it again. Anatomy of the project is important because anatomy lets us build uh, moving, dynamic how to say entities. We are not building a mascot cat or static bathroom that you cannot use. So we have to imagine how it will behave and then build an underlying system to underpin it. And since we are talking about front end, back end mapping, so what it is, front end, it's is something. In our definition of anatomy, it is something. Front end, that's something that you usually see as a website user. That's the surface. That's a visible part of the e-commerce solution internet page. Front end of google.com is a search bar, right? And that's a very little part, right, of what they got in the backend to enable this front end to work. So front end is a point of interaction with the customer of our customers. So CAD front end is, well, it's an image, right? It's how you can experience a CAD in 3D environment. And backend is the structure of internal workings. It is covered. You don't see pipes usually. It's not seen, it's much less understood. Everybody seems to be an expert in user experience, in user interfaces, because we are using them every day and everybody has an opinion. So very little people have an opinion on backend of a particular system. It's in the back. It's like a front office and back office. Front office in the bank, you see the smiling people, and in the back office, it can be in another country. Our task is to imagine entirety of front-end and back-end and make them working together. An example, that's a front-end, right? We see an invitation and we see some controls. We can provide our email and hit subscribe button. And some project managers will say, okay, that's a title, that's a forum, and that's subscribe button. Especially if they're not good at English for some very rare reason. However, what we expect the project manager to think about are at least these points. Do validate input. What about success message? What is about repeated sign? How admin will see subscribers? So we understand what is the purpose of this element, and then we expand from there. Of course, the first focal point is a purpose of a CAD, of a bathroom, of an e-commerce or e-commerce solution or subscription block. We understand the purpose and then we figure out the anatomy to underpin it. So we ask a customer, you want to communicate with your clients. So you sure you don't want their name? And they're like, okay, yeah, fine, we don't want or we want. And then we figure out that they actually do not have a newsletter management module. So we also have to build it for them. And the final thing is, yeah, there should be a nice hover effect for this button. What else have we got? So in short, we understand the purpose. Then we expand front end. Expanding front end is understanding what can potentially be happening on the front end. We can hover, we can press button, we can get some message, success message, error message. We can put our email address, what is the font we want to put it, and then we map it to the backend. Mapping to the backend is building, how to say, an internal working or understanding a platform anatomy. In our case, it's Magento. So you have to dig into Magento, understand how does it work, what are the internal workings of Magento, and then you can map these things to it. As a one of test requirements is to take full advantage of default Magento functionality. So you see something on the front end and you map it to default Magento functionality. And we will see some examples of how we do it. Yeah. And yes, we are doing e-commerce and your test is about e-commerce. So you should have heard what a content management system or CMS is. It's a system for managing content on the front end, working in the backend. So it's a classic front end backend relationship machine. And e-commerce can be considered also a CMS because you manage product data, you manage images, prices, discounts. Plus, there are some tools such as payment gateways, registration, and login modules. And e-commerce is highly dynamic. A mascot won't do, or a nice looking designs without whole hundreds of pipes going to the backend and powering it will not help our customers to reach their goals they're setting. So to succeed with your test, learn Magento anatomy and apply front-end backend mapping principle to at its core. And of course, front and backend mapping is is not solving a task per se. It should be correct. So you should map a newsletter to a newsletter module, right? And you map some menus to whatever category structures in Magento. We don't want you to map cat eyes to their digestion system. Good luck with this exercise, and I think that's the time to show you an example of what front and backend mapping might look into in Magento. So here it's the same as your exercise. You will get a bunch of designs. And well, you can also use more or less the same format with a bit more explanation, or maybe like annotating that this area is whatever 1 1, 1 2, 1 3, 1 4, and then providing an explanation of how does it map to backend. So here a person who did it used what we expect to use as default Magento search. So when a developer looks at it, developer immediately understands, oh, no big deal. It's already available in Magento. I just need to style it. Free overnight shipping. Okay, so I build it using Magento static block. I assign it some whatever header code, and then I put their images, and customer can edit them. So it's not a part of design. It's not hard coded, and we still use Magento here, Magento default things. Here we see default Magento menu and then static block with 3 links. So how do we understand it? Okay, workwear, high visibility footwear, these are product categories, 6 product categories. And embroidery, brands and sale, that's something different. Maybe not even product there. So we cannot source them from a default Magento category tree, but we are adding it as a static block with 3 links, and we can easily make sale yellow or whatever color is necessary. Static blocks, again, these promo banners will be static blocks, and this is default Magento subscribe and text, so they have some nice text. It comes from static block again. So we see some categories on the home page, and these are 6. It seems that the same categories, and we see on top. So these are main categories. Well, in case they have more, we tell that category has an attribute. So we want this attribute to be yes if we want to put this category on a homepage. And in Magento, category can have thumbnail image, and for custom attribute for categories, because it's not default Magento feature, we use poll attribute manager. Then we attack another front-end element, static block. So there is some internal reference that you cannot use, so you have to be pretty much detailed on how you want the customer to add new logos, to remove them, and to link to the product categories or product collections from this brand. So you can see some more indications on how these things are built, can be built with Magento default features. Some more. So we don't need to stress about thumbnails. Oh, sorry, breadcrumbs. They are from Magento. The image is also from Magento. We don't need to build a custom module adding a kind of category image to the category. The same with pagination and sort by, well, layered navigation. This filtering is called layered navigation as Magento. And here we see that, well, we need an extension because Magento does not have price slider. It does not have multiple options select. So, okay, we could how to say, sense the difference. We understand where the difference is coming from, and we could find a backend instrument to support this difference. Okay, this is a particular extension. And adding a brand to the thumbnail is also not something we want customer to do manually. So we are using extension here. And to support our claim, we also add a user guide. So we can double check that it indeed works. This is a product detail page. And we again tag every feature here with a short note on how we are going to implement it. So we notice all these tabs are custom. Magento does not have product tabs. Okay, you can pause this video and check some more examples. I hope it gave you a feeling of what do we expect from you in the test and what a front and backend mapping is in the real project. So let's come back to our presentation. So let's recap. What did we learn? I think first is the question is what do you look at when you get a project? And the project can be a building of something, a redesign of project of your apartment, or it can be a software project. But what is this? Is it a feature? Is it a promotional block? Am I supposed to interact with it? What is the purpose? So if you look at it also, it means that it's kind of front end. So let's extend the front end by understanding the purpose. So if you look at the cat, will it stretch? Will it run? Will it eat? Will it make some sounds? We don't know. Customer didn't tell us. We have to explore. We have to stretch the front end to its maximum. And then, once the depth and breadth of something you look at is assessed, let's think about the structure, internal workings of this object that will sustain the features that we observe. And in very simple things is how admin user, how our customer employees can use backend to make all the things they imagined on their frontend. What's next? Estimate. Estimate here is deliberately second because without understanding of what, without stretching or like imagining what your front end could be dynamically, and without understanding of what kind of backend, what kind of internal structure and workings you need to make it work, you really cannot make an estimate. And yeah, the estimates, they are started in many different ways. Никифор, ну пожалуйста, ну выйди отсюда. Yeah, and then you'll figure out what will you estimate exactly. Because you cannot estimate a cat or a bathroom. There is no such kind of estimate line like a project. 50,000. Or customer, well, can you fit 50,000? Yes, yes, we can. Your project can be 50,000. So let's look at how we are, how does estimate emerge? So estimate should have a structure and essence. Structure is generally a blueprint of anatomy, so to speak. And essence, well, structure helps you to avoid this single piece type of estimates, like a project, 50,000. So how can you structure a project in 10, 20, maybe 100 elements? That's what front end, back end mapping, understanding of features helps you to do. Further, you have to figure out what kind of effort is required to build this feature, so the essence of the element, internal working, complexity. It's just 2 hours or 2 weeks. In our project, the structure is expressed as components, very large pieces of the project. They are mutually exclusive. Well, an example is like electricity and water supply in bathroom, or maybe nerve system and digestive system. Well, they are connected, but they are quite separate, and they are vital for project successful completion. So if we omit some of components, then the project will just not launch. Yeah, some examples: muscles, bones, nerves. These are big components and vital components for successful functioning of a human anatomy. So the first goal is to figure out these components for the project. And they're pretty big. We just cannot tell, oh, your bones system is X. So we have to split them further into epics, the modules of the component. Let's see what's next. Okay. To capture the essence, here we suggest you to simplify for the purposes of test, so-called T-short estimate approach, when we just focus on small, medium, and large, and we avoid extra large size for the estimate, because we believe that the bigger estimate gets, the bigger is the feature, the more blurry it becomes. When you ask something very small, like whatever, make a hover effect on the subscribe button, then there are higher chances that it will be done correctly, and your acceptance criteria is also very clear. It's easier to test, it's easy to estimate. If you just make something like large, let's make a newsletter module task, then it contains like dozens of actions and elements, and there are high chances that something will be omitted or not described properly or not understood. So we welcome, and especially for this task purpose, we welcome small estimates that call for granular understanding of the project and splitting your project understandingly into smaller parts. So let's look at the estimate example. Here it is, and let's see how does it address the structure in essence. So our structure is this gray line, so we understand we need to do a base setup, and then we have templating and adjustment to the theme. So it's a front-end work, generally based on default Magento. And then there are these modules, these small epics. Homepage is separately, category separately, product list, benefit guide, search result page is estimated. Well, each is split and then further split into the task that we estimate. So we estimate something that is within components, epics, on the task level. And then we have some custom functionality, and it can be 100 lines long or to be discussed. It means that we are not clear about it, so we have to send some questions, so we have to schedule a meeting with the customer. Quality assurance, content input, hosting, deployment support, and overhead. So for this particular example, this constitutes how to say, the entirety of the project anatomy we look for. Yes, and I understand that's our last slide, right? So we learned that the estimate is a structure containing granular elements explaining their internal working and having an effort attached to deliver them, small, medium, or large. And please put hours so we can sum them up and see and put a range from 4 to 8, 8 to 16, 12 to 24. Well, this approach helps us to combat questions like these guys offered much cheaper. You're like, can you send us their estimate, please? Because if they just told that your project can be done by half of this price, are you sure that we'll actually understood your project as detailed as we understood it? It helped us multiple times to win our prize. Because sometimes competitors were sending their estimate for getting ERP integration, for getting some mobile device optimization, a lot of things, a lot of things. Or they bluntly just were kind of theming it front end without describing or planning to build some backend features supporting the functionality of this front end model. Another thing is, wow, it's so high, it's so big. And you're like, but look, there are 300 features that are proprietary to your project. Well, if we cut in three, or like cut third of it, will it work? Can we go kind of minimum viable product way? Or let's look at each feature. So here, and that's also acceptance criteria for your test, you have to follow a supermarket check paradox. Because sometimes you just go around, everything is so cheap, you add it, and then bam, the bill is big. And you're like, oh, yes, I need all of this, and it's really cheap, but together, well, I'm buying it. So it also helped us to win multiple projects because customer can't really tell, oh, I don't like the estimate of 2 hours for this feature, for this header static block from 2 to 4 hours. Can you do it in 1 hour? Like, well, we can. Well, it's an estimate, so we probably will be able, but customer will not go around each of the 100 elements and telling, oh, and then for some elements we can tell, well, it may require much more time actually. And another bonus is a good estimate means great project execution because your estimate is like a blueprint of what needs to be done in this particular project. And it's already split in components, so you can split the task between different teammates without them overlapping. Well, I think that's it. That's it for this video purpose. I hope it made some use for you, and now